Hello and welcome to Tower. It's time. It's time to talk about hex. I'm sorry for the thumbnail. Even my daughter cringed at it, but you're here now, so let's get on with it. For almost every two-wheel drive buggy Tamiya has ever made, one question above all else keeps cropping up time and time again. How do I run modern hex wheels? In this video, I'm going to show you what I did using only Tamiya parts, and then I'm going to show you what I did to fix it. So here's the standard setup for the caster block and steering arm on a TRF201. I've got it here with the bearings, and the wheel would sit in between these bearings in normal use. And you can kind of see, if I through the motion of steering, on the 201 it's held in place with this single screw versus a nut you would get on other Tamiyas, but the principle's still the same. On a TRF201, the caster is set in two different ways. One is whatever the angle we have on the kick up here, and the other is the angle themselves of the caster block directly. Now by default, the car has 25 degrees of kick up on the front plate and 5-degree caster block supplied, and that gives you a 30-degree caster. It's possible to get a hop-up part, 54244, which gives you a 0-degree hub carrier, giving you a total of 25 degrees caster. So that gives you slightly more turning and bite. 30 degrees caster is more stable for running. 30-degree caster is where I want to be once I've done the conversion. The outer hinge pin on TRF201 is this 2.6mm hinge pin. That's the same as is used on things like the DB01. It's also the same as used on the XV01 and the Astute TD2 and the Avanti TD4. So that gives us some possibility about other things that might be compatible. And the first port of call I went to was looking at the 2022 Astute and taking a look at what's available there. On the parts tree there is something that's very, very similar to I have on my DB01 Durga. And it's made up of a much bigger steering arm. You can see this is from the Astute 2022 because of the extra holes here that are used to mount those mud guards, caster block, steering arm, and using the M chassis axle and hex running through that bearing. So there we have, hanging from a hex driver, the Astute 2022 caster block. You can see where the hinge pin would be located is running through where the hex driver is, and at 90 degrees to that, so 0 caster, is our ball. Now this is upside down, but it hangs quite conveniently from there for me to be able to show you. Now it's possible to get 6-degree caster blocks, such as we have here. These are made and intended for the XV01 series of cars, but fundamentally they're the same pieces, but with, in this case, 6 degrees of caster. So if I put that on the same driver, we can see the 6 degrees, meaning this ball is no longer hanging directly down. It's actually 6 degrees out of alignment. So why do we care? We take the Astute 2022 steering block, we take the XV01 6 degrees caster block to give me a total of 25 plus 6, 31, somewhere in the vicinity of the 30 that I'm aiming for, and away we go. And to be honest, that's how I ran this car for a period of time, was with those 2022 steering arms and 6-degree hubs, and it ran fine. However, there is a problem with doing so. So an extreme close-up on the wishbone and the steering arm at the end there. You can see as we turn away from the arm, there's no issue at all. And as we turn in the other direction, the collision is such that it actually compresses the suspension. Now, obviously we're on full droop here, and in practice you're not steering at full droop, but if you can imagine an unloaded wheel or a wheel in the air, that collision matters. And as I say, that's a combination of using Astute 2022 steering blocks and steering arms and TRF201 lower arms. So what do we do about that collision with the lower arm? The answer comes from one of the other cars I've got. So the left hand side here, this is the TD2 TD4 steering arm. And in my right hand here is the same piece but from a Durga DB01. And if you look these two, they are the same in terms of overall geometry, dimensions, etc. The key difference is if you look here, the overall height, the overall raise in terms of the steering arm compared to where the axle is way higher on the DB01, and that's enough to give us clearance against the lower wishbone. And if we go back to the same extreme close-up as I did before, you can see the massive effect it's had in terms of the overall clearance for the arm. So as we go through a range of steering motion, you can see we are nowhere near contacting the arm at full droop at all. I was about to take this spacer out, and then I realised actually I should have probably had more stack height there on the Astute 2022 steering arm anyway. This is looking much more in line with the overall steering suspension geometry, so that's probably better in terms of bump steer as well. So there you have it. We've given up some of the overall elegance and daintiness of the 201 part, but in exchange we've managed to get lightweight hex hubs fitted to something that is robust, easy to get hold of parts. It's easy to change this caster block out if I want to switch back to 25 degrees instead of 31, and away we go. So there you are, hex hubs on the front of a TRF201. Hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll catch you around soon.